Hello everybody, Ron Wildman here on Middle Georgia Spotlight, and it's shining on the city of Fort Valley. We have the mayor of Fort Valley with us, Ms. Barbara Williams.
Hello.
What's happening down in the valley?
Well, we're trying to stay alive, trying to stay afloat.
Like everybody else.
Like everybody else. If you see us, you see a lot of mass riding around and these kinds of things, trying to follow CDC guidelines and trying to stay safe. We're working to try to make that happen, trying to open our economy back up slowly. Early voting got started. We're still trying to get the census out of the way and just actively involved with doing what cities do.
City Hall, how have you been handling business at City Hall?
Well, we have some guidelines wherein anybody that comes in the doors have to wear a mask, of course, and we have some plexiglass over our areas where the customer service people are, wherein they're not getting close, this kind of thing. But people have not stopped coming in to do their business, handling their business licenses, paying their taxes, and we are still welcoming them in. So we're afloat. Yes,
How are you handling your council meetings?
We're doing that by Zoom right now. Ever since the pandemic started, all the council meetings as well as our committee meetings are done virtually now. And we are going to continue with that until things kind of improve a little bit more. They are beginning to do so now, but until they improve a little bit more, we have a small council chamber, and my office is small where we have the committee meetings and what have you. It's not enough space to spread out the way we need to spread out, and so we do things to protect not only our council but the public also.
Would you like to get back to the real thing?
I would love to get back to the real thing. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the real, but I would like to get back to the point. We are kind of people. I'm a person who likes to reach out and touch people. And, we are safeguarding against that right now. I always say I'm a hugger. I can't hug people, not even family. And that's rough. I'll be glad when we can get back to that. But right now we are doing what's best for ourselves and our community right now.
You're really the leader of the band, aren't you?
Well, kind of, yes.
Used to be.
Used to be, yeah.
What, your musical career? You were a band teacher, a band leader.
Exactly.
At several schools.
Yes.
And that began when? When did you, what was your first experience with music?
I think when I was in about 7th grade, and of course that was when Jesus was a boy. But I started with piano lessons at that particular time.
Who got you started on those?
Actually, a relative of mine did, one that I admired dearly, and she was a music teacher. And so my mother traded babysitting for her to give me piano lessons.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. So, and that started the career. When I got into high school, that was the first year that we had, I think, a band there.
Was that in Fort Valley?
No, that was in Roberta in Crawford County. That's where my home is, Roberta, Georgia. And so it started from there and went on from there. Now, when I finished the university, Fort Valley State, I went down to Dooley County in Unadilla first, and I taught beginning band and general music classes there. From then on, I went from there to, it was junior high then instead of middle school, but I was band director at the junior high school, and moved on up to band director at the high school there in Dooley County. And after that, our lives brought us back to Fort Valley. I married a Fort Valley man, and he was invited to come back to Fort Valley to be assistant superintendent of schools. And as a result of that, I got hired at the middle school in Fort Valley. And of course, I finished my career there. While that was happening, I went into politics a little bit. I got on the city council. I was on that for about 16 years after I got my 6-year degree. Then I went back to my alma mater, which was Fort Valley State University, as an adjunct professor, and I've been doing that about 12 years. So I've been in education for about 40 years, you might as well say, teaching from primary school all the way up through secondary education.
Well, you started off with piano.
I did.
What did that expand into? How many instruments are you knowledgeable with, to a degree?
Well, to a degree, I'm knowledgeable of all of them, except I have a hard time playing guitar, not because I'm not knowledgeable of how to do the fingerings, it's just that the fingers are too delicate. You have to develop some kind of calluses on those fingers. And of course, I've got a granddaughter that does that well, but I just never did that. That's the only one I kind of stood clear of. And we had a little orchestra when I was in school at Fort Valley. I also played viola at that particular time. So I play all of them, some, well enough to teach.
Did your experience with a lot of folks with your music help you get elected to council?
I guess that would, because it did expose me to a lot of people in the community. I think I taught everybody's child in Fort Valley, in Peach County. But not only with that, when I had a business there where I opened a music store, and I did a music lab wherein I taught music even to, I had one of my students that was an 80-year-old lady that always wanted to play piano, and she enjoyed it. That was her outlet. So I guess you could say I taught all the way from primary all the way up to a senior citizen's age.
Brings me to a memory of mine. I remember years ago when I was over at WMAZ going to a nursing home, walking in to shoot a story of some type, and over in the corner was a lady, could have been in her 80s, pounding that piano, and she had a crowd of folks around
Sitting
her,
around,
and
that's
everybody was so happy. And I said to myself, my daughter someday is going to play a piano, so when she's 80, she can do that same thing. What a wonderful gift to give to people, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Your teaching
Thank you.
over the years.
Thank you. I enjoy it. Always have enjoyed it. I've been minister of music over my church. I do that, and I play for some of those things for Christmas programs at the nursing homes and things that you talk about. I get to do that. That gives me a sense of worth still.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Fort Valley, when I think of going over there, there's not a roadway in there that's not beautiful. You've got those fruit and nut trees on all sides of the roads, all kinds of things, and it's just gorgeous, especially when they're blooming in the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Do you ever think about that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I even just ride sometimes. No destination, nowhere to go. I just ride out 96 going toward Warner Robins. Sometime I ride out 96 West going toward Reynolds. I was born and reared in the rural areas, and I just like to see the leaves turning and see various things. And things are beautiful when they're well groomed and well kept. And we try to do that.
You mentioned well groomed, well kept. These farms, these peach orchards are going commercial with their little in-store operations now.
Right.
And so everybody's spiffing things up even a lot more than when I first came there.
Oh yes, oh yes. I guess my dream is that we could take a small town and maybe form a collaboration with the local farmers, small farmers, not large farmers, but local farmers, and have an initiative that can bring meats and produce from the farm directly to the table. That's been one of my dreams.
Are you working on it?
That's been one of my dreams.
Okay.
That we are negotiating with some people to make that happen. Yes.
You know, Fort Valley, as a medium-sized town, is in a unique position industrial-wise. You have that Bluebird bus company over there. That's heavy industry, probably one of the biggest, heaviest industries in the state of Georgia.
It is, and maybe in the United States.
How many folks work over there? Do you know?
I think it's about 26 workers now. Since the pandemic started, it may have downsized just a little bit because of not being able to get parts from.
You said 2,600?
2,600.
Oh my!
Because they have 2 shifts.
Yeah.
They have quite a few on the night shift, and quite a few on the day shift. And it slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic.
Like everything else.
Yeah, like everything else. Hard to get parts in from China and that kind of stuff. It's kind of picking back up though now. As long as we have children, people are still birthing children, there's going to be a need for Bluebird somewhere, and I hope they continue to stay in Fort Valley.
Well, on top of that, you're a stone's throw from Robins Air Force Base.
That's right. That's
and you
right.
have a lot of folks that go over there every day.
That's right. That's right. Even when I was teaching 45 miles away from Fort Valley before we moved back to Fort Valley. But there were people who came all the way from Fort Valley, from Vienna and Cordele, and carpooled all the way up to one of Robins Air Force Base. Wow. And then there are some that come from Stockbridge back down to Robins Air Force Base, which is the reason why I'm hoping to, another one of my dreams, that we can encourage Atlanta to turn Amtrak loose a little bit and be able to come from Atlanta, from the airport on down to Warner Robins, on into Fort Valley, because we have the tracks and they are live tracks. We have 2,800 and something students there that go to Fort Valley State University, with about 900 of them that come from Atlanta and beyond. And these kinds of things would be very conducive for Middle Georgia.
Speaking of large industry, Fort Valley State University.
Yes.
How many folks work out there? I'm throwing these figures out. I hope you.
That's all right. I don't know exactly how many employees we have out there.
That's a big
school. It's a big operation. That's right, and it contributes greatly to the economy of Fort Valley.
You're blessed over there, aren't you?
I'm blessed. In many ways. I graduated from there. I've been actively involved in their programs, and I still teach. I'm still actively engaged with the young people out there, and that keeps me young. So I'm blessed in many ways, yes.
Well, you have so much on your plate over there now, but you'd like to have more, wouldn't you? Would you bring anything? You working on anything to bring in new businesses?
Well,
that's a hard part of the job, isn't it?
That's the hard part of the job. And in the fact that we don't have an economic development board, which we're working on to try to make that happen. Just talked a little while ago this morning to a retail strategist. I joined our development authority director and flew by private plane to Birmingham, Alabama, a couple of years ago, a little while ago, to a retail academy. And of course, that's not the job necessarily that the mayor should have. That's the job that an economic development director should have. But in lieu of not having the economic development director yet, I participated in that academy, and there's a lot of things to be known about attracting retail business there. And hopefully in the next year or so, we're going to have more retail business wanting to come into Fort Valley, because it's going to be a place that really encourages off of I-75, off of Houses Mill Road, Highway 96, that way. And we are, as you know, the new Buc-ee's that's coming in, coming off of Russell Parkway. That's partly in Peach County, and we have an agreement with Warner Robins about that situation. So all of those things are going to make things flow in and out of Fort Valley, and I think it's already happening. I could, on any day at midday, I can go toward the downtown area and see the traffic is almost if it's during football season and everybody's trying to get to a football game. That's the way it looks. So in the next few years, Fort Valley is going to be booming.
Peach County High School football is big.
Oh yes, yes.
Tis the season. It
is the season, and they're on a winning spree right now, and hopefully it stays that way. With some high schools have been shutting down due to coronavirus, COVID, and we have been blessed. We are able to continue, and we are on a winning spree. And so, and got a new high school that's up and probably will open next year in the fall.
From the west side of Fort Valley, it'll be on the east side.
It'll be on the east
between
side.
Byron and Fort Valley.
Right, between Byron and Fort Valley, and we are looking forward to that.
Closer to Fort Valley.
Closer to Fort Valley, and of course that's going to bring more development back into the area also. Mm-hmm.
Talking about those retail stores, what type of places you talking about?
Well, everybody when they think about retail, they think more about restaurants and those kinds of things, but we have the Dollar General there, and we were told at the Retail Academy, retail business draws to things within 5 miles. And that's a surprise, within 5 miles of a Dollar General. And so we have Dollar Generals all over the place. That tractor company that we have in Centerville, that's one of the things that Fort Valley could attract, I think. And the reason I say we could attract it, we are right in the middle, in the midst of the agricultural belt from Taylor County, Crawford County, Dooley County, Houston County. And those places, you got the tractor supply from up on this end that serves Irving County, Twiggs County, and all of those. But we don't have anything closer than Columbus
Well, you go
on
down
the west side.
Montezuma,
That's
big
right.
farming
Macon
area,
County.
and beyond.
That's right.
It's wide open.
You got all of those. You got all the cultural farms and that kind of thing there, which we could service right there in Fort Valley. And not only that, we had it's a hardware store that was a mom and pop business that was owned by a gentleman, just his family, just him. And he has retired. It got to the point you got that big space there, concrete flooring. It's an old hardware store, which I've seen in other smaller towns wherein they bring in and start manufacturing beer and things in those places. But we could attract a farm supply or a tractor supply right there and do well with it. I sit down all times of night and dream of things, of course. I could go on and on and on about my dreams.
But these businesses are always contacting people all the time.
Yes. The other thing I had as a dream, and I'm still dreaming about it, and somebody's going to fulfill that dream, it may not be me, is what I call a dinner and a ride. As you know, the rail in Fort Valley and throughout Fort Valley was very popular, the passenger rail, as a matter of fact, long years ago. And I'm old enough to remember being able to ride on the passenger train and what fun it was at that particular time. Well, just like the old Sam's, just like the Sam's Short Line is west of us, we have a cafe or a restaurant, upscale restaurant sitting right on the railroad track called the Railroad Cafe.
I've been there.
You've been there. Good food,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes.
And it's sitting right there on the railroad track. And we have places that we could have a dinner and a ride. It could be a lunch and a ride if you wanted to, like a box lunch or something like that, and go and do some tourism. And so that's one of my dreams also.
The years ago, I remember covering some stories on it. You had a rail line between Fort Valley and Perry along there.
It's still there. It's still there. I've talked to the people from the railroad since I've been in office, as a matter of fact, about restoring that track. And they did get they got a grant and restored that track almost up to passenger standard, if not up to passenger standard. He told me at that time that that's what they were going to do. And of course, we had a train that derailed, though, sometime since that time, which scared everybody. But that track still goes to Perry. You don't have trains coming through as often, but it's still a live track there.
Usable.
Yeah, visible. It's visible.
For
and usable.
For one of your dreams.
One of my dreams. One of my dreams. And the Railroad Cafe is one of the buildings. We had 3 buildings in Fort Valley: the Signal Building and the Switch Building and the another building there. Had all 3 of them. That Railroad Cafe opened in one of the buildings right there. And so what better way? And they've got on their menu, you've been there, you said, so you know they got things called they're named after the train industry on the menu. I get something called the depot salad every once in a while. And then you get a hot dog called the train wreck, hamburger that's named after something with the train. So it's kind of a historic type place.
That's quite an operation over there.
Quite an operation, and I would just, as I said, I would love to see the lunch and a ride or the dinner and a ride.
Between downtown and Fort Valley State University, there's a big railroad depot type building there. Just needs some repair, a good bit of repair. Do you have plans for that possibly?
Well, there were some plans some time back on it. As a matter of fact, Norfolk Southern wanted to give it to our Downtown Development Authority. However, they didn't want it to stay where it is because there's not enough parking space there.
Railroad tracks everywhere. They still come through there, don't they?
Yeah, they still come through there. Railroad tracks everywhere. Would have been a perfect place for a museum that kind of memorialized the train industry as well as the peach industry even in there. And it just didn't pan out. But it's sitting right there, and all we have is the porch. Everything else is just sitting right there. So we don't know what we'll end up doing with
I
that.
remember years ago when I first started at WMAZ, covered some stories where they loaded those peaches up in downtown Fort Valley on those trains and took them all over the country.
Well, as a matter of fact, right there where Com South was before Hargrave bought it out, Com South was on the corner. That's where my music studio was, right there, that building right there on the corner. But before the tornado in 1975, that was a hotel called the Winona Hotel. And people would come in on the passenger train and stay at the Winona Hotel. There was a local gentleman there who was a brother of one of the Tuskegee Airmen, who was the porter at that hotel. He's passed on now. But anyway, and one of the men's shop there that's owned by the Coreys, you may have heard by the Coreys, their parents rode down from Griffin on that passenger train, fell in love with Fort Valley, and they opened two businesses there, Corey's Men's Wear and Corey's Ladies Wear. It was the daughter-in-law of the one that owned Corey's Ladies Wear that encouraged me to open my music store. I opened a store, first of all, in one of their buildings, and I rented it until I could buy the building. And so we did that for a while. A lot of history there in Fort Valley. Big stories to tell that sometimes we think they are not important enough to tell, but people just need to hear them. And so, you know, I've never been short of being able to tell the stories. I'm excited about what goes on in my town.
Over the years, I found out that people would call me and do a story, and they said, "Do you think this is newsworthy?" I said, "Everything is newsworthy. It's just the way you tell the story."
The way you tell the story, exactly. And of course, we went to a lot of tourism trainings and a lot of meetings like that with the state, with the Department of Tourism, Department of Economic Development, Department of Housing, and all these kinds of things. And I hear over and over and over, if you have a story to tell, make sure you get the story told. And you will have people that will come all the way from up north. Now, I was in Michigan about 3 weeks ago. My family is up there. I went salmon fishing up in Michigan, and I went out into a rural area, and my niece said, "Aunt Barbara, this kind of reminds you of Fort Valley, doesn't it?" And I said, "Oh yes, it does." It wasn't in the hustle and bustle of the downtown. It was up near Muskegon, Michigan, in a place called Idlewild, Michigan, wherein they had all of these different resorts and different things. And I said, okay, well, when I grew up on a farm, and I wanted to get away from the farm. Never wanted to go back. But now, to go back and see what happens with the rural area now just kind of excites me. I tell them it makes to the point where in the spring when people are getting ready to grow their new gardens and their new farms and this kind of thing, it make you want to pull off your shoes and walk out there in the dirt barefooted.
As we were talking in the beginning, all that area around Fort Valley is beautiful rural area being developed, and the peach industry is just booming.
It's booming, and the pecans too. They are doing a lot with pecans and doing a lot with blueberries.
Blueberry is a big thing.
Blueberries are good, and I wish it was cool enough for the blackberries to do better, but the blackberries do well too.
Well, we can't have everything.
Can't have everything, but we can work at it.
That mid-'70s tornado did a number on Fort Valley.
It did, and but we are resilient. We are very resilient. People have restored some things to their original looks, and there are people who have the history of what everything was long before that. Now, some of them are passing on now, and some of them are losing a little bit of their memory, but there are photos all over the place. If you can go inside some those places and just look on the wall. You could spend a half day there, kind of imagining what it was at that particular time.
Some of those storms, especially in a downtown area as it was in Fort Valley, you can get the funds to rebuild the way they originally were, even better than they were at the time of the storm.
Right. I would love for that to happen. As a matter of fact, I think the walkability would be great in Fort Valley, and it would be more attractive if you could get grant funding and restore all kinds of buildings to look similar to what they were before, and have some unity in their looks that way. I think that's been done in Perry somewhat, and it's inviting for you to just walk on the streets. Now, since we did some work on Camellia Boulevard, and now it's widened out some, that is fun also, and it's a safe place to go at night and walk. So those are the kinds of things that I look forward to us restoring and trying to. That's part of our story that we really need to tell.
Getting close to Christmas time, the Christmas season, which is always a fun time in Fort Valley, the gazebo, and what do you do downtown this time of year?
Well, as a matter of fact, our public works people have started putting the Christmas decorations out already. They don't light anything up until a little bit after Thanksgiving, but they spend about 2 months putting out things, and each time they put out something new, just to make it attractive. And of course, we have buses of people, especially senior citizens and what have you, who take trips and just go all over Georgia to look at the beauty. It's the same as going to see the leaves turn in the mountains. So we have a lot of people that come to do that, and that Railroad Cafe attracts a lot of people there to have lunch.
Well, the spirit of the season really is evident in Fort Valley.
Thank you. We've been very blessed. We have.
You're looking ahead, anything in the immediate future that you'd like to see come in right away if we can get rid of this virus?
Oh yes, of course, now we've been working on this ever since before the virus though, but we're talking about trying to get a 3-star hotel into Fort Valley. We've been working on that for a little while. It's going to come out where the old Peach Regional Medical Center was, on Highway 49. And then we have a truck stop that's coming on the bypass out there, the Highway 49, and where 49 goes all the way over to 341 and 96. Truck stop coming on the bypass. That's going to be happening sometime in the near future. And then there is a building downtown called the Old Kell Building. That used to be one of the old businesses too. That's been restored to the look. The agricultural department at Fort Valley State is going to be doing something with that in order to restore that. And I'm hoping that's what we will get on the retail side, where we encourage our small animal growers and our produce growers to bring into downtown from the farm to the table.
Things looking up down in the valley.
Down in the valley, that's right.
Well, you've been mayor for 7 years.
Yes.
And you have 1 more year on this term.
Yes.
We're looking to 2021. Will we see you running again, or do you know yet?
Well, don't know yet.
And we don't want to say yet either.
Don't want to say yet. Don't know yet. I can say that I have enjoyed my work. Enjoy working with the people. I enjoy small town living. I love to travel, but I would not stay in a larger town because I love the small town living. And it's peaceful. Now, all cities will have their challenges, and sometimes it gets to be our lot to have those challenges, but we work to make sure that we bridge the gap, and we are resilient. We move forward.
And with good spirit.
And with good spirit, that's right.
Thank you for being with us on the Middle Georgia Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Ron, for inviting me.
All right. Thank you, folks. I'm Ron Wildman, WMUB TV.